What else about this? I think what we're going to do is we're going to jump into what these things actually mean. They actually have meaning, not just for the physical world of like, electromagnetic radiation and physics and the quantum world, but these actually have emotional and potentially spiritual symbols for the human race to analyze, which is why I'm super excited to talk about this. Breaking news 2, crop circles, take 1. Welcome to Quantum Kinetics. We have breaking news. We have 2 crop circles that landed in Wiltshire, England, Roundway Hills region. And these 2 crop circles landed, one of them landed today, 7/18/2026. And the first one landed on 7/11/2026. And the one on the left here you're looking at, that was the first one that landed last week. And they're calling that one the Cosmic Chicken. The Cosmic Chicken, well, it looks like a chicken because it has a beak and it has 2 eyes and it has its fur, its little feathers there. So, but I can assure you that is definitely not a chicken. We're going to talk about that and do a deep dive about what these symbols actually mean. And I just want to let you guys know that whoever made these crop circles are definitely giving us a symbol of signs and letting us know that we need to be listening to our hearts and listening to and forgiving each other. We'll talk about what that actually means and why I'm saying that in a little bit. But first, let's go ahead and talk about the details of these crop circles real quick. They're both around 200 to 250 feet in diameter. The first one, like I said, was landed on 7/11/2026. And they're actually saying that this is pretty amazing stuff here. And everyone kind of in the crop circle community is kind of excited about these. So special thanks to the Stonehenge Scrapes for providing the imagery and the video of this. So if you don't, go ahead and check out their video and subscribe to them. But let's go ahead and talk about what we're looking at here and what this actually means and how this is not a chicken. Okay, so we'll start with the first one. What you're looking at there, in my opinion, is you are looking at a matter-antimatter positron pair. That is a microscopic version of the existence of a universe entity as a thought, the electron and the positron spinning around each other. Now, what you'll notice, and what we said in this podcast many times, is that essentially in our reactors, we create this thing called a nanoparticle, which is a carbon Fe3O4 magnetite crystal, which is an octahedral. As you can see, octahedron. You can see that in the middle, that is actually an octahedron in the middle. And so we are thinking that this might be actually a hint to a time crystal, because matter and antimatter spinning around each other gives us a clock time to the universe. And this also might be hinting at something called the Find constant, which is basically 1/137. And I'll get into that a little bit later. Whatever you guys think, go ahead and hit it in the comments, and I would love to hear what you have to say, and I'd love to have a dialogue with you about this. But we'll continue with the analysis. So what you're also looking at here too is we have these rays coming off of the octahedral. I believe that's the representation of electromagnetic radiation, because what's happening is that it's actually smearing. There's actually a temporal flux smearing action going on from close to the mass outwards away from the mass. And so if the numbers of the diamonds that are made here are 1 from the center, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7. So those are the numbers of the smearing diamond shapes. And I think that those are electromagnetic radiation that are coming off of the magnetite crystal, kind of like what we talked about with the pyramids, and you can check that out in the other podcast episodes. So I think that what we're looking at is basically a microscopic symbol of the universe, okay? And if you go over to the right, you see the other crop circle. This one, I really like this one a lot because it has a lot to do with our company logo, the Quantum Kinetic Well logo. And you can see in the middle, there's a cresting moon. And what I think that actually is representing is basically the core of a planet, or the core of a sun, as the magnetite crystal that is basically elongated and large scale, and it becomes a sphere. An octahedral, if you continue to put shapes and corners on it, it will just grow into being kind of like a gigantic sphere ball. And actually we find that in electroplating with copper, that can actually happen too. And so I think what we're seeing here is basically a very large macroscopic version of the universe as a planet or a sun emitting rays of electromagnetic radiation off of its surface, just like we talk about in our podcast, and which also correlates to our cold nuclear fusion experiments. So I think that's really, really exciting. What else about this? I think what we're going to do is we're going to jump into what these things actually mean. They actually have meaning, not just for the physical world of electromagnetic radiation and physics and the quantum world, but these actually have emotional and potentially spiritual symbols for the human race to analyze, which is why I'm super excited to talk about this. What you're looking at here, in my opinion, is chakra symbols. And the one on the left that landed in 7/11/2026, that one is, in my opinion, that one is the heart. Because the heart is basically two triangles fixed over top of each other, where there's two masses that are basically synchronized together, spinning in a perfect orbit, and they're harmonious, kind of like the heart, which the heart is all about forgiveness, it's all about balance, and it's all about air. It's all about the flow of life. And also in our reactors, we do see the negative pulsing action that stimulates antimatter to cause the nuclear fusion to occur. So I really think that this is kind of a symbol to the human race, is saying like, hey, you need to have heart, and you need to, basically have forgiveness. And there's a lot of war and turmoil going on right now, and we know around the world that we need to start, letting go of our hate and saying, hey, maybe we should just relax a little bit and, give each other a hug and say, hey, we're going to figure this out together. And the crop circle on the right, that one I believe is actually the sacral chakra, which is all about basically anti-guilt, basically letting go of all the problems you have in your heart and all of your in your body. And it's so interesting because it does correlate to what's going on around the world right now. And I feel like whoever made these, if they were an interdimensional creature or whatever, they are definitely letting us know that we should be thinking about these symbols and these ideas for our neighbors and even our enemies as well. So I mean, we got to get along, and I think that there's these creatures that are basically using their artistry to do etch-a-sketching with antimatter on the surface of the Earth. And some of you probably don't know this, but when they actually analyze the blades of the grass or the wheat or whatever, the crop circles actually cause the grass to bend over at a 90-degree angle, and it doesn't blow out the sides. And so it doesn't break it at all. It's actually just a perfectly rolled over 90-degree, and it has no break in it. So the only way to do that is you'd have to you have to locally heat up that blade of grass so it would basically bend over like a metal being bent. And I think that they're using a Quantum Kinetic Well etch-a-sketch that targets an antimatter particle that basically they just, with their technology, they just turn the knobs and they just move it around the way they want, and they just bend the grass over. But that's my opinion from what I know about nuclear fusion. And here's another thing too, is that the chakra, there are 7 levels to the chakra of the human body. There's the root, which is red. There's the sacral, which is orange. There's the solar plex, which is yellow. There's the heart, that is green. And there's the throat, that is blue. And the third eye, which is indigo. And then the crown, which is white. So this is a lot like alchemy too, which we talked about in another podcast. But what I find very interesting is that these crop circles were made exactly 7 days apart from each other. So I think that this is basically a code or enigma code that's telling us that we should be paying attention to the chakra levels, and that whoever's making these is communicating with us to let us know that we need to be, 1, have heart and forgive, and 2, the sacral region, which is anti-guilt and adapt to the environment. And I think that's kind of the big takeaway of these 2 crop circles. I mean, they're very beautiful. And when I saw these, I was like tickled. I got chills when I saw this. So I hope that you guys are excited about these crop circles just as much as I am. But if you have any thoughts or additional comments about any of the designs that you see, or maybe the numbers, maybe Maybe there's a Fibonacci spiral thing going on there that you see that I don't see or we don't see. But yeah, go ahead and hit us up in the comments section. And a special thanks to the Stonehenge Scrapes for basically getting this video for us with their quadcopters and their cameras and whatnot. So we really appreciate that, being on top of that. And again, just because we don't understand where these things are coming from, just because we don't understand what they mean, doesn't mean they don't have meaning. If I was I just want to, on this one thought, end on this thought, is that if you're an interdimensional creature that has the ability to do nuclear fusion, and you have the ability to time travel and do nuclear rad waste remediation and clean your planet and scrub the atmosphere and make life grow faster on your planet, I mean, I would want to be an artist too and show other planets and other worlds what beautiful things lie ahead if you can just get past your own ego and you can get past your own hatred for other people. I think that once we understand who we really are deep down inside, understand our hearts and understand matter and antimatter and trigger nuclear fusion safely, I think that we're going to usher in a really new world for all species on this planet, and maybe even join a galactic federation potentially, but that's yet to be seen. But anyway, this really speaks to me as an artist myself and someone who studies physics. This really hits home hard, and the micro is the macro and the macro is the micro. And remember, fusion is love and love is fusion. You don't have to force it, it just happens. All right, we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for tuning in to the breaking news of these crop circles. If we see any more, we'll let you know, and we'll have another episode. So anyway, take care. Have a good rest of your evening.